Welcome to episode 2 of the season, but the actual for real kind of
number 1
Dunks and Dogs episode.
Yeah.
We didn't have any picks last week. There's no games to pick on.
Well, I was just picking scrimmages actually.
Yeah, we were picking on the scrimmages. Those are super reliable final scores and how the season's going to go. But yeah, we're ready to roll. I mean, I think it's perfectly fitting that we get hammered with a snowstorm Friday and Saturday, and
the week before. Yeah, the week before.
Yeah,
we're supposed to get
literally just days away from the hoop season starting, so we're ready to go. Yeah, let's look at the schedule here. We're going to get started. Like we said last week, we're going to have the MR.IA basketball watch list here. Quickly, I want to say this is important. This is just a watch list. Obviously, we have no idea. There's going to be some guys that maybe don't make the list later in the season that are on this one, and there's probably going to be guys who are not on this list that will make it later in the season. So this is just who our rankers think going into the season, who they think could be somebody who could win the award at the end of the year. And Nelly, we got a lot of names on this list.
We do. We do.
A lot of really talented players, and I think it's just a cool thing to look at. And then Dunks and Dogs, obviously, we're going to make our first picks to the season. The reigning champ is going to try and make it back to back.
Who's that?
If you didn't watch last year, I'm the reigning champ, actually. So
yeah, I rewatched that
try
season.
And make this. And then we're going to do our games to watch segment. We're going to bring that one back. So at the end of the video to cap it off after Dunks and Dogs, Nelly's kind of break down our games to watch. So Nelly, should we get our MR.IA basketball watch list up?
We shall. 4A
there we
MR.IA basketball watch list. Obviously, we can see a lot of names that were in the finalists last year or just on kind of like that final radar, going into the state tournament. Of course, we have Rio, and I'm not going to butcher your last name, but I know he's a hooper, and I know he gets buckets. So, yeah, Rio out in Ankeny. Yeah, this guy, I think he leads the state returning in points per game, and I'm pretty sure he's top 5 in assists and rebounds too. So this guy's just an all-around player for Ankeny. I really hope that he can have a breakout season. I think it's his senior year. So, and then some other names to look at, of course. We got 2 Waukee guys on here. We got 2 Waukee Northwest guys on here. 2 Cedar Falls guys on here. I mean, a lot of just the top teams in 4A have just a couple of superstars that are really going to break through and just lead those teams through battle. Obviously, Parker Burns is a transfer from Waterloo West to Cedar Falls now. And then, of course, I don't think we have any more transfers on here, but yeah, just guys who are looking to have another dominant season. Obviously, these are pretty much all based off of last year's stats and what we saw with the eye test, what our rankers saw with the eye test. So, yeah, we'll see how this list kind of breaks down throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys Central Iowa, so I definitely saw a lot of these guys. I mean, you mentioned Rio, like I watched him at the conference crossover. Like that dude was, I mean, he's a great shooter. I mean, he takes over the game fast. And I mean, we'll talk about this a little later, but him and the Hawks have a really big test coming up in this first week. So we'll definitely get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I think this is a solid list. I think the 4A ranker did a pretty decent job. I think, like you said, a lot of these teams are teams that are at the top of our rankings, and they just have some really good players. And I think it all just kind of makes sense. So yeah, that's your 4A MR.IA basketball watch list. You can screenshot this, share it, and whatnot. But now we're moving on to 3A, which I have already mentioned is probably my favorite class this year, at least in terms of what I'm looking forward to cover this year. I mean, you can look at this list, and like the 4A list, a lot of these guys we knew about going into the season because they got some recognition last year. I mean, Um, One guy I want to talk about is Jaden Kuhn. I mean, probably the most well-known name in the state in terms of recruiting. He's a four-star. He took Storm Lake to their first state tournament in this century. That was really fun to watch, and I mean, I think Storm Lake. Um, I think they've got the means to maybe run it back again, and then obviously you have Kale LaFrance, who actually won the award last year, and he's returning for Decorah. I mean, a lot of those superstars that we saw in 3A that shined during the regular season and during the postseason, they were juniors and some of them even sophomores. So it's going to be really fun to watch 3A turn out. Do you have anybody that you've kind of got your eye on for 3A?
I mean, a lot of these guys are kind of close to where I'm at as far as like Xavier goes, and Keokuk's a little far away, but I could still reach him if I wanted to, Jackson Clark. But I'm really excited to see what the Xavier guys can do. I mean, in the state tournament, I think they were a lower seed, but AJ Evans and Zaner Murray really showed out, especially Zaner Murray in that absolute classic that was the MOC Floyd Valley game where it came down to
Yeah.
like the last two shots of the game. I thought that was a really interesting game to watch. It's probably one of my favorites of the tournament. But yeah, a lot of good hoopers this year coming from just the 3A section, just the 3A class. I think this race is ultimately going to come down probably to Jaden Kuhn and probably AJ Evans or Hudson Lorenzen. Those guys were just they were absolutely dominant all year long. I mean, Jude Gibson, too. You don't want to forget about him just leading Ballard as well. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how this one plays out as well. I think the top two classes are going to be really good this year. Uh, Not saying the other two classes aren't. I'm just more of a big school guy, I would say. I'd say I'd enjoy watching big school ball more than little school, but I love the little school culture a lot more too.
Yeah, you can't beat the small town environments, man. They really love their high school sports, and it shows. And speaking of which, we are going to move on to our 2A Mr. IA basketball watch list. And again, a lot of familiar names that we saw from last year, and specifically a lot of names familiar to our football fans from Locks and Dogs. I mean, you look down the list. I mean, a lot of these guys we literally just watched at the Dome. Tate Wallace just ended the Grundy Center streak. Judd Jurovsky, he's won three state titles as the Grundy Center quarterback. AJ Harder won a state title with Tri Center a couple of years ago. Quinn Street took Osage to the Dome for the first time in a while. I mean, these are a lot of names that we saw in football, and we're seeing another part of the small schools as these multi-sport athletes that really shine, not just in one sport but in multiple sports. And I said that with Cade during the football season too. So I think that's really fun and interesting to watch. But I think 2A is going to be pretty competitive this year. I think um, last year, Western Christian was wire to wire number one. Um, at least I'm pretty sure, and they ended up winning the state championship again. But this year, I think it's a little bit more open. I think it's going to be a really competitive class this year, and I'm really excited to watch it. Is there anybody that kind of sticks out to you on this list?
I'd say one guy to watch out for is going to be Jaden Harris from West Branch. Obviously, I got a lot of firsthand experience covering a lot of their games, really close to Iowa City, but that guy's really just a pure scorer. I mean, he can score on all levels of the game. I mean, he's a guard, but he drives to the paint a lot, but he can also shoot the three. So it's really interesting to watch his game, and it's very smooth and it looks very mechanical. So that's going to be a really fun time to watch again this year. And then obviously the Virginia guys you touched on, just football prospects. They're just really great athletes who just play the game with a lot of like grit. Like they're really rough. They're gonna go and get you a board, and then they're gonna go down and score some buckets in the paint. But yeah, obviously the two Columbus Catholic players on this list, Amani Robinson, Elijah Evans, transfer from Cedar Ridge Christian. Yeah, I think that they could really lead that team to a lot more success than they've had in the past couple of years. Obviously, I'm kind of from that area, and I've watched Columbus basketball growing up. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how those two guys kind of carry themselves and work together as a new team. But should be a good time to watch them and just yeah, see how they kind of just feed off of each other. I mean, obviously, Amani's going to be taking a lot of pressure and a lot of attention from the defense, and that is going to leave Elijah open, and it's kind of vice versa, same way. So I'm excited to see that and how this plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're going to finish it off with the 1A Mr. IA basketball watch list. Um, I I really like this list. I think there's a lot of names that are new to me that I hadn't really seen last year. But I mean, one name that you got to talk about, Hunter Horn. I kind of covered this in my voiceover video that I posted, but um, St. Edmund kind of quiet in their rankings for 1A as far as I remember, and then they kind of exploded at the end of the season, made it to the state tournament, made it to the semifinals, and then unfortunately they crossed paths with state tournament Torrance Severson. I mean, that dude was just he was a different animal. But I mean, Hunter Horn, he was a Mr. IA basketball finalist, and he's back for St. Edmund, and St. Edmund bringing back some of those starters that they had from last year. And I think they're going to be a really competitive team. I think that number one spot for them is, I think it's valid. And then obviously, another name that I'm really looking forward to watching is Jevin Severson of Madrid. I think he's going to do real. I mean, you saw it too. I mean, he was. We talked about it last week as well. I mean,
Yeah.
he's uh, a freak athlete, and I think someone like that who is a really good athlete can really it can really enhance your team a lot. So those are a couple names that I'm looking for. What do you see on this list?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see if I can head down to Burlington, watch some Shea Stevens. I mean, I know we had a couple guys go down there, take some photos of that Burlington, West Burlington Notre Dame game with
Mm-hmm.
Mason Watkins and Shea Stevens. I think he matches up really well for this 1A level. I think he's just a really talented hooper. And of course, also guys like Cal Hayden, Eli D, Jackson Ruggles, those three kind of at the bottom of our list are also, this is in no order. I'm just saying bottom of the graphic. This is,
Yeah.
but obviously seeing those guys were constantly popping up on our notable performers. I mean, dropping 50 bombs just day in and day out, kind of at this 1A level. I love seeing just those unreal stat lines that we don't get to see at the bigger classes. But yeah, Jevin Severson, just to point him out again. I mean, I remember seeing a clip last year of him doing like a 360 in-game dunk, and I didn't know that white guys
Mm-hmm.
could jump that high in Iowa. But it was absolutely incredible to watch that, and just seeing him at the state tournament too. Just the size that he plays with, and just the way that he kind of carries himself on the court was a super fun experience. But yeah, this 1A class has got a lot of talent, and I'm excited to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a great set of lists, and these will be posted on the socials later this week. But if you tuned in to the YouTube, you got a special early access to that. And obviously, I'm sure we'll hear plenty about people that we missed or people who should be on this list or are going to win. But we'll see those later in the week. But now we're getting into our dunks and dogs segment. So we're going to show those. We're going to go through class by class, starting with 4A, um, kind of what we're looking at this week in terms of what we think is going to happen. So I'll get us started here with my dunk pick this week, and I'm going to take Waukee, who I think might have some of the most hype going into this season. I mean, they have a really nice roster returning from a good season last year. Previously mentioned Evan Jacobson. A lot of people know the name for his Division One Power Four football commitment as a tight end, but I mean, this kid can hoop, right? I think we've both seen him in person. I mean, he really does take over the game. He is a force in the paint. He's coming back for his senior year for a consistently good Waukee team. He also put up 18 points per game last season, so that's just in it of itself um, a really good guy to return from a team that you had last year. So I think Waukee is real. I think they're legit. I think they're going to have a really good season again this year. So yeah, that'll be my pick for my dunk and my dog this week. I'm going to go with Iowa City of Liberty. A really, I mean, they had a pretty quiet season last year. They only got 2 wins last year.
Yeah.
Um, However, I do think that they're going to compete more this year. They had a really young team last year. They had some sophomore starters, they had some freshman starters. Um, like we just saw on the graphic earlier, they have a Mr. basketball candidate, and I think that's going to be really good for them. Um, and I think Liberty just has a lot. I mean, we just watched them. They were the runner up in the Class 5A state title. We're seeing these Iowa City, these different parts of the state competing in sports more, where during the late 2010s and the early 2020s, it was really just Central Iowa dominating across the board. So I'm going to look for Liberty to kind of make their mark early in this season and get a big upset.
Yeah, I think those are some two great picks. I mean, Walkie obviously has a lot of firepower, and Liberty, Jeremiah Washman. I watched him last year. That guy can score at will. But with my 4A picks, I'm going to go Cedar Falls here. Obviously, I'd say the end of their season last year was probably disappointing to most, knowing that they were just one of the top teams going in all the way, and obviously they just ran into a really good team in the playoffs. But I think that they have just as much firepower as they did last year. Obviously, they lost Anthony Galvin, but that was just one of their biggest hits. But they return just pretty much. I think they return everybody else, and I gotta watch is like Parker Burns and Will Gertis. Obviously, those guys were carrying the team as well. They face off against Waterloo East, so I'm going to take the Dunk over them. And then for my dog pick, I'm going to take Davenport North. I think they're going to be like a really sneaky team this year. Obviously, we got word that I think it's Marquand Morgan from North Scott, the freshman. The Morgan brothers actually transferred to Davenport North from North Scott. So I think that they're going to be one of those teams that kind of doesn't start off the year in the rankings, but they'll probably finish up top 10 or around there, just kind of like how they did last year. But yeah, I think they play Prairie, which is one of our ranked teams, and I think that's going to be a really good showdown just to start off the year. But yeah, those will be my 4A picks.
Yeah, I like it. A lot of talent, a lot of firepower that we're seeing in 4A. And speaking of which, my 3A dunk, I'm gonna go with Ballard. Um, surprise! I know it's preseason. I know it's just um, a scrimmage, but Ballard did beat Storm Lake preseason, which I think that's impressive. I know that the starters probably play only 5 minutes and whatnot, but nonetheless, I think it's something to look out for. I think this Ballard team is going to be really good. I'm pretty sure they're a top 5 team in 3A. And obviously, like we just mentioned, Jude Gibson, he's one of the best players in the state and certainly one of the best players in 3A. And he's coming back for Ballard. He scored 15.8 points per game last year. They also bring back the sophomore Parker Miller, who scored 10 points per game last year. I think there's a lot going for this Bombers team. I think they're going to be really competitive again, and I think that they will have a pretty nice win to start off their year here in the first couple days of the week. And my dog pick for this week, I'm going to go with Central DeWitt, which was, I would say, probably the most surprising team last season. They made a good run there
Yeah.
in the postseason
Hmm.
after barely winning more than half their games. I think they went 13 and 12. Yeah, they finished the season 13 and 12, but I think they were 1 game away from making the state tournament. I think they lost in the sub-state final. So I think that says a lot about their culture. I think this is a team that's built on winning when it matters most. And, it is going to be hard that they lost their 2 top scorers last year, Ryan Waters and Max Bergmeyer. But as we saw with football, with Hudson Kruko and Brady Meadows, those guys are athletes. They had good seasons last year, and now I think they're ready to lead this Sabres team towards a bigger and better season this year. And I'm going to take the Sabres to start off this season on a much better foot and maybe shock the state again and have another really good season.
Yeah, I think those are two really good picks. Again, obviously not as good as my picks, but I think they're pretty good. Ballard is obviously just a powerhouse. I mean, they were so good last year, and I think they're just going to continue to have that dominance this year. But for my 3A picks, I'm taking another team that was kind of that powerhouse last year, Clear Lake. I think Clear Lake's going to have a pretty good season. I think I believe McIntyre's coming back, right? I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and he was just he was a glue guy really last year for Thomas Meyer, the Iowa football commit. I mean, he yeah, gets boards, plays hard. I mean, they play really good team basketball as we saw in the state tournament. I mean, they just looked really clean, and obviously they fell short, but I think they still had a very successful year. And then my dog for this week is gonna be CCA against Solon. I think that kind of like close city kind of matchup is gonna be really interesting to watch. Solon, obviously one of the ranked teams. CCA is always kind of just like there, you know, they're just
yeah.
kind of just in the mix and always never bad, always pretty good. So I think
Mhm.
CCA could definitely start off with an upset here this first week.
Yeah, I think you said it best. I mean, Solon, really competitive team last year, and just like you said, I think that CCA is always kind of in and out of the rankings. Honestly, I think usually more in than out. So I think, yeah, I think that's a good pick. They're kind of a wild card team, but yeah, moving on to 2A, I'm gonna go with Trainer as my dunk this week. I just realized we haven't really been specifying what days. I'm going to take Trainer on the Tuesday game because you're taking Trainer later in the week
I am.
as a dog. So um, we can't really go back and say, but uh, we'll be better at that going forward. Trainer on a Tuesday is what I'm taking.
Tuesday trainer
Um,
is a different team than Monday trainer.
yeah. Okay. Tuesday Trainer is who I'm taking here. Um, I mean, Trainer already had a great season last year. They also bring back their top three scorers and starters from last year. And I think that in itself is really valuable in how you're going to try and measure a team preseason and how good they are. I mean, you already know that these guys help lead a successful team. They're coming back. I think that means a lot of good things coming for this Trainer team. So I'm going to take them as my dunk this week. And for my dog, I'm going to go with Columbus Catholic. Another one of those teams that was really quiet last year. They didn't, I mean, they weren't making posts every week and they weren't, um, they weren't making headlines, but they bring back two of their top scorers with Amani Robinson and Owen Hush. Sorry, I probably said your name wrong. I apologize. But
Hosh.
they also, Hosh,
I'm pretty sure.
Nelly, dude, Nelly, this is you. You got to correct me. Um, so they bring back two of their top scorers. They bring in Eli Evans, who is a Mr. IA basketball candidate and had a really good freshman season last year. I think that combination of those three guys and some other added pieces there who aren't really going to make the headlines, but are those support guys that you need to have a successful team. And I think this would be a really good start to their season. This is Columbus Catholic on the on Thursday. Columbus Catholic on Thursday is who I'm taking. This is going to be easier when bound, when we can look at the stat pages on bound for the games and not have to look on their pages from last year because
Yeah.
it's so much flipping back and forth between the tabs. This is going to get better. It's going to make more sense. But those are my picks for 2A. Nelly, I'll let you share your possibly wrong picks for 2A this week.
So my correct picks for 2A this week, it's gonna be I'm gonna take Regina on Tuesday the second, and I think they just are gonna completely kind of dominate this season opener. I think they're going to come out to a really hot start. I feel like they probably have a little bit brewing after losing the state championship and just heartbreak. So I feel like they're going to come out and probably drop like 150 points or something like that. But yeah, I hope for a good year for them. So I'm going to take them as my dunk in 2A this year or this week. Sorry, and then I'm going to take Trainer on a Monday, not Tuesday. Monday Trainer is going to be my dog for the week in 2A. They're going to go and face Bishop Heelan this week, and I think Bishop Heelan, obviously a class above them. They're kind of one of our ranked teams, and I think Trainer's going to go in there and just put up a really good fight, and hopefully they can pull off the upset for me so I can take a lead on Nick really early in the season, get off on the right foot.
Yeah, I love optimism, man. We'll see where it gets you. Um, my dunk for 1A to cap things off for the Dunks and Dogs for this week. I'm going to go Madrid on a Tuesday. Um, I like this Madrid team. They bring back Jevin Severson from last year, obviously, who we talked about. They bring back Emerson Bridgewater from last year, who's another quality starter in that state championship team. And not to uh, kick a horse while it's down, kind of restate the same things that we've already said. But Jevin Severson, I mean, he's going to be one of the best players in the state. That's my personal opinion. And I think Emerson Bridgewater brings back a lot of support for this team. I think he's going to be a great leader to go with Jevin going forward into this year for Madrid. So I really like what they bring. They do lose some of those key pieces from that state championship team, like Torrance Severson and Brody Buck. But I think they're still going to be a really competitive team. I still think this is a state playoff team. So we'll see where they can start the season off out in this first week. And my dog, a lot of good things happening in Algona. They're just fresh off of one of the greatest playoff football games I've ever seen in that state championship against Woodbine. And now they're going to flip around, and I mean, they're highly ranked in basketball already. Um, some starters that they had from last year, you got Carter Schwab, Michael Joyce, Amari Thomas. I mean, these are all guys who are leading the team in points, starting and returning for the Golden Bears. I think there's a lot to like about this team. Um, I think this is a thriving program across the sports right now. I think there's a lot of great things going on. I think they've got a lot to go for them this year, bringing back 4 starters, actually, now that I'm looking at it. So I'm going to take them, before I forget, on a Friday. Bishop Garrigan Golden Bears on a Friday is who I'm taking, and that is how I'll end off Dunks and Dogs, and I'll let Nelly finish this out.
All right. For my 1A picks this week, I'm going to take Coon Rapids Bayard with Cal Hayden leading the way on a Friday on the 5th. We're going to have them. I'm going to have them as my dunk of the week. I think he's probably going to open up with one of his 30, 35, 40-point games and lead the team to victory. And then for my dog of the week, I'm going to take Easton Valley against Bellevue. I believe that is Tuesday. I want to say I could check. It looks like it's Monday actually, so tomorrow is going to be when I'm going to take Easton Valley playing against Bellevue. I think it's a pretty long rivalry. I think they have a lot of games played against each other. It's kind of split 50-50, but we're going to see. I think Bellevue's kind of had the upper hand the last couple of years, but I think Easton Valley could definitely come and take this one from them this year. So yeah, that's going to be my picks for 1A.
Well, there you have it. Those are the Dunks and Dogs. Don't go anywhere just yet. We have our games of the week to announce. All these, we're going to try and get them on graphics going forward in this week. But why not try and get the information early and get to listen to us break it down too, which I know that everybody is loving. I mean, Dunks and Dogs. Hey, we had our highest viewed episode last week, so things are trending in the right direction.
Dude.
So yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying this. We're going to move it on and finish this show up with our game of the week, starting with 4A. We have
4A.
already to start it off a 6 versus 7 matchup in 4A.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else to say about it, or just 6-7?
I'll say a little bit. I mean, couple of great CIML teams. I was at this game last year in the opening night of the season. And it was a really good game. Valley ended up winning it, I think, but a lot has changed. Valley has lost some of their Division One recruits that were on the team last year. Ankeny brings back Rio Aguirre, who we have already mentioned multiple times on this show. And as I mentioned before, I think this is going to be a great game. I think Rio and Jaden McGregory are going to play. I think they want to get this first win. I mean, this is going to be the game that we all have highlighted on our scoreboards and our final score posts and all that. We're definitely going to be watching for this one. So I think they're both going to want to shine. I'm not going to pick on this game. We don't pick on the 4A games of the week. I think this is just already, I mean, obviously you see the rankings, they're one apart. I mean, you could flip those either way. I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think they're just going to go neck and neck, kind of bucket for bucket throughout the game. Jaden McGregor and Rio. I think Obviously, these stats are from last year, so this isn't obviously what they're averaging this year. But yeah, I think two very talented players who are kind of have full reins to their teams now with a lot of players who left. I think there's going to be kind of just the centerpiece of both of the offenses, and we're going to see kind of which team is going to come out on top this week. But I think this is going to be a really interesting one to watch if you're in the kind of Des Moines area and are pretty bored this week. You can just go and drive through the snow and watch this showdown of 4A basketball.
Yeah, we gotta hope that these games don't get canceled. I mean, come on, snow ruins everything, man. But that's what it's about. That's what the winter sports are about. So move on to 3A here, our 3A game of the week. I think this is going to be a really interesting game. I think with Pella from 3A and the number one team from 2A.
Yeah, my bad.
Despite the graphics saying 3A, which is
Dude,
fine.
who
It's
did
fine.
that?
It's the first. It's the first show of the season. It's
Who
the
did
first show
that,
of the
dude?
season. It's fine. But Grandview Christian, yeah, I mean, they were state tournament team last year. We've kind of already talked about this team last week. They lose Emiliano Barantes, who is a key piece in that. But the Pella Dutch, I mean, I really wasn't expecting them to be um, certainly in the top 10 this year. But then I'm looking at the 3A rankings and I'm like, oh, the 3A ranker, they're Pella fans here. So I'm sure the Dutch are happy to see that after they just another team that we just watched in football. They were the runner up in 4A last or just a few weeks ago. And so, yeah, I think this is going to be a good game. Again, there's not a whole lot to say here because it's preseason. We don't know anything about these teams yet. But nonetheless, I think both of these teams will be competitive. So I think it'll just be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. And obviously, with just obviously they are the 2A game of the week. I fixed it there. um, yeah, the 3A game of
Wow.
the week. I think Pella. I didn't really hear much about them in basketball last year for sure, but definitely hearing them a lot in softball, a lot in baseball, a lot in football. This is just a school that just has really good athletes who are gonna just go out there and perform just week in and week out. And then Grandview Christian again, seeing them play in person as well. They're just a really fundamental team, so that's gonna be really excited to see. I think Braden Hoban's gonna. He kind of had a kind of uprising in the state tournament. Obviously, a lot of attention was on Emiliano, and it kind of just left Braden Holman in that spotlight to just shine. And I think that's really what he did last year. So it's gonna be exciting to see what he can do. Now is just kind of like the main guy for Grandview Christian, but yeah, this should be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on to a 2A game of the week. And yeah, this is one that I saw on the Bound scores tab, and I was like, "Yep, this is. I think this will be a really fun one to follow." We have Sergeant Bluff Luton and Western Christian, another team that really I don't think we even talked about last year, SBL, um, when it comes to basketball. But Western Christian, we certainly we certainly have. They won the state championship last year. They have the most in history.
Yeah, they're pretty
um,
good at basketball, I'd say, probably.
yep, I would agree. um, but yeah, I think this is going to be a really competitive game. I think it'll be interesting because, um, I mean, anytime you get these cross class games, you don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, we could see an upset with SBL. We could see Western Christian show that just because they're a class higher, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think we really have no idea how it's going to go. And that's really the biggest thing with these preseason analysis, I guess, predictions. We really don't know until it happens. So I might look like a complete fool talking about these games, but I think this will be a competitive game, and obviously that's why we selected it as the game of the week. Um, Nelly, what are you going to look for in this game?
Yeah, obviously, I'm really excited to see Ajay or AJ or however you say his name. You can correct me in the comments, but I didn't. Obviously, just like you said, we didn't talk a lot about SBL last year, but I think they're probably just one of those emerging teams in 3A that can really put on a show. But I mean, watching Western Christian play basketball is really sort of an art form. I mean, the way they play basketball, it's just really smooth fundamentals, just get down, shoot a three, easy buckets. I mean, all five starters on the Western Christian team can really just lead, and they play just a certain brand of basketball that they've played for a really long time, and obviously that's allowed them to just gain and just kind of stack up these state championship trophies. Like I don't even know where you would fit all of those trophies in a trophy case. But yeah, obviously they just play their own brand and they kind of stuck to that. That's just why they've been so dominant for so long.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Should be a good game, and we will end this show for week one with our 1A game of the week. Kind of a more quiet week in 1A um, of how this week's going to go, but I think this will be a solid one to keep up with. Holy Trinity Catholic and the Waco Warriors. Holy Trinity didn't make the state tournament last year. However, they did have a good season last year. They were consistently in the rankings every single week, as far as I know. Um, and Waco, kind of the new team. I don't. I think maybe we talked about Waco a couple times. They might have snuck into the rankings a couple times last year. I don't really remember that well, but I know that Holy Trinity Catholic was in there week after week, and Waco, kind of that new team, like I said. So I think it will be. I think it will be fun to see how these teams shake out. We'll see if anybody's underrated. Maybe some people are
Yeah.
overrated, but I mean, you see there, Christian Stacy. I'm pretty sure he was on the 1A MR.IABASKETBALL basketball list. 19 points per game last year and 6.7 rebounds a game. Did not. I didn't. I just read it. I didn't read it ahead of time. I'm sorry. Jeez. Okay. I think Waco is going to be a solid team. I think they could rise up the rankings. And Holy Trinity Catholic, they will be interesting to follow. They did lose um, their star player that they had last year, and I'm trying to remember his name. Luke Hellage, that's
Luke
right.
Hellage,
He was
yeah.
on some MR.IABASKETBALL basketball conversations. He had some
Hmm.
incredible stat lines last year. He graduated, and so now Holy Trinity Catholic is going to try and prove to us that they can still compete. I think they will, and I think this will be a fun game to follow.
Yeah, I think I would totally agree with that. I think this was actually our 1A game of the week last year too when they played in the
Oh, really?
first season. Yeah, I think I remember that. I think remember picking one of the two teams, but yeah, obviously these teams I think they match up pretty well. They have a lot of history obviously being pretty close together. But hopefully this is one of those games that's not going to get canceled because of the weather. So hopefully this snowstorm can kind of move out of the way so we can just get some good ball and some good hoops going off right in the first week of the season. These two teams are gonna. I'm gonna definitely keep an eye on this one. If somebody's there covering it, I'm definitely gonna tune in and watch. So yeah,
Yeah, there we go. The first actual season show. Last year was more of a preseason show, but this time we actually get to pick on some games. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. You already know what you're going to expect from IA basketball. We're going to have final scores for you this week. We're going to have some scoreboards, some player recognition. If you guys have clips, DM us on IA basketball, Instagram, Facebook, on X. We will try and get those up if we can. Nelly, first week, it's time to lock in. We
oh,
need to
I'm
have
locked
good
in, Nick.
coverage this year, or
Yeah, I'm locked.
you might get fired. I don't know.
Who me?
Mm. Thanks for if you made it this far. Seriously, we appreciate it. We will be back next Sunday with a new set of rankings, um, more dunks and dog picks, and more games to watch. So thank you for tuning in, and yeah, good luck this week, and we will see you on next Sunday.